Thanks, Dawn. I've been living in Champaign-Urbana for going on 5 years now. I love these small cities for the same reason that many of you probably do. They make it easy to meet and get cozy with all kinds of brilliant people, and I've met many through my work writing and podcasting for Smile Politely, organizing for labor groups, and tutoring and educating in the community. But I moved here to work in this building, which is the English building at the University of Illinois. I'm getting my PhD in English literature, and I'm currently writing my dissertation. When I tell people that, I'm frequently asked, what is your dissertation about? I always have a hard time answering that question, especially to people outside of the academy. So since I have a captive audience, I'm going to use this time to explain what it is that I do. I'd like to explain my research through an example. Everyone here has probably seen products like these. These are Neuro self-care products, which promise to improve our brain health, our intelligence, and consequently, our lives. These aren't medical products per se, they're books, supplements, and games that promise to help us engineer ourselves to better, smarter brains. These products tell us that we need to improve our brains, and we need to spend money to do that. It turns out that lots of people want better brains. Products like these are big business. A search for improve your brain yields more than 500,000 results on Amazon. But why are we so interested in enhancing our brains? Why do we want to have better, smarter, faster brains? And why do we want to be more intelligent? These are the questions that brought me to graduate school. One answer might be that we are our brains, that our complex brains are what makes us human. But several scholars have critiqued this fascination with the brain, pointing out that it minimizes the importance of the rest of our bodies, our environments, and what happens in those environments. I'm not convinced that humans are only or essentially our brains. First of all, if we look at history, we find out that our interest in intelligence only spans about 100 years. This guy invented the first intelligence quotient test in 1905. We've been trying to improve intelligence and create it artificially for even less time than that. People have imagined the possibility of intelligent robots for centuries, but it wasn't until around the 1940s, a few decades after we began measuring intelligence in humans, that we began to imagine creating artificial brains in computers. So one of the things I do in my research is examine historical change, especially change in our scientific priorities and values. But of course, as a graduate student in English, I also research literature. Like many literary scholars, I think literature gives us the chance to imagine what might be in a pretend world filled with specific characters and situations, but without any material constraints. Literature is the realm of the possible. It is a way to create possible pasts, presents, or futures with specific details. Literature doesn't claim to be counterfactual. It doesn't claim to be factual. It's a counterfactual world that offers us things beyond ourselves a little bit, or way, way beyond ourselves. What could happen to us beyond anything that could happen in real life. Literature is a tool, we might even say a technology, for testing and hopefully solving cultural problems. But like so many things, we are completely in control of literature or language. I tell my students that language works like a virus. Once you're exposed to it, you risk catching it. It can become part of you and can affect how you think. So my research is based on the idea that language, and especially imaginative literature, shapes how we think about the world. So what does literature say about intelligence? First, like history, it shows that people have really only been thinking about intelligence for the past 100 years. You'll find words like intelligent, or genius, or stupid, or idiot in earlier literature, but we really only find characters that are defined by their intelligence, or lack thereof, in the 20th and 21st centuries. Here are two examples. The immensely brainy, but largely unemotional and sometimes socially unaware Sherlock Holmes, and the intellectually disabled, but innocent and loving Forrest Gump. These examples tell us that to be intelligent often means to be disconnected from our emotions, to not need others, to be separated. Being intelligent also means being able to solve problems on our own. Sherlock has a sidekick who writes admiringly about his powers of deduction, but Watson rarely knows the answers to the problem that Sherlock easily, we might say surely, unlocks. Almost always, Sherlock takes care of problems by himself. Watson, especially in the original stories, is often just along for the ride. So I think the fact we spend a lot of time thinking about intelligence and a lot of money on that tells us something about who we want to be. We want to be independent, self-reliant, able to handle things on our own. We don't want to be defined by our messy emotions. We want to be quick, fast, and brilliant, all words that we use as synonyms for intelligence. And most of all, we don't want to feel stupid. Feeling stupid often feels like putting a spotlight on our flaws, the most embarrassing and inadequate parts about ourselves. We don't want to be in that spotlight, we want to blend in, and that often means putting our head down, not asking dumb questions, and sorting through things on our own. It means being intelligent or intelligent enough to solve our own problems. So I think that what literature tells us about intelligence is that intelligence really means something else. It means feeling independent from others, but at the same time, weirdly, it means feeling like we aren't different from other people, like we belong. It's a paradox, right? The feeling like we're intelligent enough to take care of ourselves is often the same feeling as fitting in or belonging to a community. And that's why I say in my dissertation that in the 20th century, intelligence becomes a measure of belonging. A lot of terrible things happened in the 20th century and have happened so far in our century, many of them motivated by the question, who belongs? Who belongs in this bathroom? Who belongs in this country? Who belongs in this world? The idea of intelligence gives us a way to answer that question, who belongs, without thinking about the hard stuff. Intelligence is a shortcut for figuring out who is like us, who knows the things that we do, who can take care of themselves in our world. The idea of intelligence has allowed us to include and exclude without thinking too hard about why. Since my dissertation is about intelligence, a lot of people ask me how to define that word. And the truth is that even though I've spent roughly 5 years thinking about intelligence, I don't know what it means or what it means to be intelligent. I think, though, that thinking about intelligence tells us a lot about who we want to be and how the feeling of belonging often happens when we can find someone who doesn't belong. My title was Neuro Self-Care, so I'd like to close by saying that in my time as a grad student, the best things I've done for my brain and my intelligence over the past 5 years has been talking to others who do and think about very different things than me. Putting together this talk was very hard for me, and I'm grateful for the opportunity and that you were here to listen.